What is my intuition? What is intuition? What does that mean? All of us have intuition. Everybody has intuition in some form. And there's different layers to intuition. So what is intuition? Intuition is that gift of being able to feel the card actually is connected to a frequency gift. So they're calling it clairvoyance, sure, but it's combined with your intuitive gifts are the energy part of you that are designed to support. You want to re-engage or engage in your life with enthusiasm, feel like you're really making a difference, do something that counts to you. That's what our intuition is there for. So we say, well, how in the world do I do that? How do I connect to my heart? How do I connect to my intuition? What is in here that really isn't serving me anymore? Because it will always.
Join Janell as she answers the questions you have about intuition. Janell Rae, raising the vibration of everyone we touch.
I've been getting these questions from students, and I see them online. What is my intuition? What is intuition? What does that mean? And I'm really looking forward to just communicating about what we've observed personally, what I've observed working with different people.
Yeah, and that's what I have. I have some questions, the kind of like accumulation of different things put together here. And the first one that just kind of comes up with is, what are the main forms or the main types of intuition that people have? And I hear the word like clairvoyance and those types of things. But if you could just kind of explain, like, what are the different types? And there's probably a lot of them, but maybe narrow it down.
There's a lot of titles, and everybody has a different experience with these titles, like clairvoyance. What does that mean? And I'm going to talk about what these different types look like. I may not even use very many titles at all, because the second I do, it gives us an idea based on our experience and exposure to these gifts. So I'm going to describe them so that we can give you, so that you can relate to what these different pieces are. All of us have intuition. Everybody has intuition in some form. And there's different layers to intuition. So what is intuition? Intuition is an internal guidance system that has depths to it. And we can develop, when we understand what our intuition's like, how does mine work, then we can expand that. We can study it, we can exercise the use of it, and then we can open up, because it's once we get one skill, then it opens up other skills. It's a skill. But it's not so much a physical skill. So you've played basketball, you've coached basketball. And so as you're teaching people, you've seen how they start out at a certain level, a certain skill, and then you give them exercises to do. And as they practice those different dribbling exercises, defense, and all the different things that I don't even know about, but you do. But what do you see in them? I mean, their skill develops. And it's our intuition. That's a physical skill. Now, an intuitive skill is connected to our energy body. It is, and its epicenter, its home, where it starts and it doesn't stay there, is our heart. And our heart center is the core epicenter, the space where we exist. Our most authentic part of us is in this heart space. And in the heart space is where that internal compass. So intuition is part of our internal compass. Our intuition is letting us know, so you can either see what's coming or what's been. And that is one part of an intuitive sense. You can have, some people actually get a type of hearing and sense. Some people get a feel sense, a feeling. Some individuals have a knowing. So there's a difference between a feeling, because you get a feeling and then you understand what that means. Knowing is just, you just know something. It's like, I don't know why I know that. Where did that even come from? That's one of mine. And I say one of mine because all of us have more than one. And there will be a leading part of our intuition. There will be a leading, you'll either have a knowing or a sense, and that'll lead with some other accompanying data, basically. These senses that we have are data. They give us data. So you can have a knowing, you can have a feeling, you can have a taste. Sometimes people have a taste. Some people have a smell that comes through. And these are all intuitive forms of guidance. Some people see, not just see the future, but sometimes they see actually in color. But that's an intuitive guidance. Some people get symbols, and it's an intuitive guidance. So we think of clairvoyance and you think of seeing, you think of, at least I used to, it's connected to a psychic gift. You think of seeing the future, you think of that kind of thing. Well, that can be one look. And often when we've taken, and I've taken, I've been in this working with energy for 20 plus years, and I've studied a lot of different people and a lot of different techniques, and that's a good thing to do. But one of my observations is that they'll talk about like clairvoyance. They'll talk about, I have clairvoyance, or this is what clairvoyance is. And if you don't look just like that picture that they're talking about, you're thinking, well, that isn't me.
Yeah.
But it can have a lot of different looks and still be the gift of seeing. And it's that uniqueness, that being able to see individual, and that's what we do. When I'm working with people in their classes, in my classes, we're taking, well, what's your gift? What works? What is your specific type of seeing?
Right.
Because if I just say, well, this is what it is, and you're like, well, that isn't me, but it actually is, it just shows up a little bit different for you. So all of those senses I described, those are all intuitive points of guiding, and we'll have combinations of those.
Yeah, and what I was just thinking, a couple things was, one of them was a guy one time was showing cards and saying that if you can, have the cards the face side down, and if you can read if it was a red or a black or, all these different types of things. And if the people who could do that were like, oh, I got it. I get the seeing, I get the clairvoyance, you know what I mean? But then there was other people who couldn't get that, and they're like, oh, I'm not intuitive.
Yeah.
So they viewed that as kind of a measuring stick.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. And actually, that gift of being able to feel the card actually is connected to a frequency gift. So they're calling it clairvoyance, sure, but it's combined with a frequency gift. And so when you have that combination, reading the cards is a piece of cake. If your gifts aren't working in that sequence right now, then you're going to look at that, you're not going to know. And I've had people also play the game of put a crystal under a cup and feel what crystal is it. It's the same, it's an intuitive development technique. Mm-hmm. If your gifts are as they're teaching them, you'll get it like right now. But if they're not, you'll think, great, that's not me. When that's not true.
Yeah.
It's just showing up for you differently.
It's like you with dyslexia in school.
Yeah.
You had certain gift sets and then other ones that didn't line up with the schoolwork. And so you would probably feel, oh, I don't get it. I'm not good at this. Mm-hmm. But you're not good at that one form, but you have other gifts.
Oh, yeah. And the way that they work. I have another student who, I've seen this in just more than this person, but they're intuitive. They actually feel. They feel what they're working on. So if they're working on an animal, and the animal has a sore shoulder, they'll have a sore shoulder. So that's called embodiment. And their body tells them what is going on with whomever they're supporting or whatever they're supporting. And that is, it's our gifts. It is intuitive gifts. So what are intuitive gifts? Your intuitive gifts are the energy part of you that are designed to support your physical gifts. They're designed to work together. So I don't have to be an energy healer to use my intuitive gifts. We've met on our journey of building business. So I've been part of a lot of masterminds, and we've listened to just some A+ copywriters, right? Mm-hmm. And they go and they sit and they channel. They call it downloading, and it's channeling. They're tapping into, that's one of our intuitive sides, is being able to tap into greater wisdom. And there's a whole, it's not difficult to do. You just need to know what and how you do it. And that's what we show people. I show people, how do you tap into guidance? How do you channel? It's just going to look differently, but they're doing it. So they're taking their intuitive gifts and they're tapping into guidance, and they're bringing it into their work. You were listening to a gentleman the other day who was making millions of dollars by finding that last mile for businesses. Like, how do you take your business to that last mile that just makes the difference in reaching your clients? And he was using his intuition to channel and bring that wisdom in. Part of intuition, it does have layers. Part of intuition is, if I study, because I was a horse trainer, one of the hats I've worn is horse training, and I had studied and studied and studied horses. I've studied how they move. I studied, all these aspects, seeing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of horses and the biomechanics. And so exposure is part of intuition. So that is probably the closest one connected to my physical body. And then when we want to have a feel for working with horses and how they move, the whole biomechanics of it, exposure is key, is very important. And then my mind and then my intuitive sense can work with that and come up with these incredible ideas, credible knowings. That's layer 1. But layer 2 and 3 and 4, it's infinite. We cannot max out what we develop, how far we can develop these gifts. We can't max it out. So if you think you've arrived, you're just getting started, truthfully. And that's exciting, because that means you can get even better at it and have even more skill. So you have that, things you've studied basketball, you've got a feel for how to teach that person a drill, or you've watched a game, you can see what we need to be practicing.
Patterns and things.
Yeah, it's exposure.
Right.
Exposure with your intuitive sense and how that should deliver you. But if the next layer is being able to tap into things you haven't been exposed to. So ideas that you're like, whoa, I never thought of that. That's next layer intuition.
Yeah.
And so it can be applied to business. I want to grow my financial business. I want to know what stocks to invest in. Develop your intuition. I want to build this company. I want to invent toys. I want to invent unique toys. Tap into your intuition. You're going to be combining your gift with your physical gift with your intuition. I want to be the best coach. I want to be the best parent. I want to be the best teacher. Tap into your intuition.
Well, and the other thing too, I know, like you mentioned basketball a couple times, is the more skills you have in that, the deeper they are, because there's only like a half a dozen fundamentals there. The deeper you are in those fundamentals though, and the more you can just use them, the more fun it is. I mean, it's a joy to be playing when you have those skills at a deep level versus a shallow level. And what I see in intuition is people come in and they're at a range of levels, okay? But if you have, let's say like you don't know how to dribble the basketball, that one thing can hold you back from the whole game and make you feel like, I'm not a basketball player. So with you, when someone comes in, when someone comes in, they might have some just amazing levels up here of certain things, but then there's some over here that they're just not even aware of, that they, so like building those up and working together and not necessarily filling in the gaps, but just improving your skill set, and what aligns with you is probably huge, I would imagine.
Oh, it's like it answers the question, how do I live with purpose? How do I re-engage it with my life? How do I get excitement back? We get kind of in a rut. We graduate from high school. We go into wherever you go, whether it's college or you go wherever you go. And life is starting to happen, and you kind of develop this pattern, this rut. And it's like, where did life go? Or if you're going, I'm in high school, and where do I go? So whichever it is, you want to re-engage or engage in your life with enthusiasm, feel like you're really making a difference, do something that counts to you. That's what our intuition is there for. It's the part that aligns us with that thing that fires us up.
It's that guide.
It's the guide, yeah. So we say, well, how in the world do I do that? How do I connect to my heart? How do I connect to my intuition? And fact is, we're always doing it.
It's like, how can you not think?
Exactly. How do you not breathe? How do you not think? You're always doing it. You thought, well, I've got to learn how to do this. You're already doing it. What is in our heart, however, may not be totally in line with our most authentic part of our heart. So you said the heart is the compass. It is. But trauma and or experiences, beliefs about ourselves can be stored. That energy, that emotion can be stored in our heart. So we store it in our body, and the heart's one of the places we store it or can store it. And so I was working with a gentleman, and he was aligning. He goes, I want to do, and he really was going, I'm excited about this. This is what I want. This opportunity is totally going to happen. It's going to be my best thing ever. And dove into it. And he's like, man, this isn't what I thought it was. And these, they're not giving me the information I thought they promised me this information. It was like this mastermind group. They promised me this information. It's not what I thought. I knew in my heart. So then the doubt comes. Well then, oh my gosh, I can't trust my intuition. I can't trust my heart. But what was in the heart space was I need a belief. I need somebody else to tell me and give me the answer.
Kind of validate you in a way.
I'm not enough. And I need, a validation in a way. And no guilt, no shame. We've all got these. And his compass, the energy he was holding in his heart was totally in line with that offer. So did the heart let him down? No. So how do we align? It's aligning with that most authentic part of us. It means we get the opportunity to heal. We get the opportunity to take a look at, what is in here that really isn't serving me anymore? Because it will always line you up. Energy attracts energy. So if what's showing up for you isn't in a line, if you're going, man, I just knew. Well, that just means that there's possibly some clearing to do. How do you align with your most authentic self is to take a look around you and go, is that what I'm wanting? Is that really resonating with me? No. Okay, then there's some parts that are ready to upgrade in our energy space. And in our energy space, then there's probably an accompanying thought that goes with it, a memory, an experience that gets to be upgraded.
Yeah, and I can't remember what it was, but in one of your classes, you said something that reminded me back to, I'm going to attribute it to the wrong person, but I think it was like Michelangelo or something, that said, when I take everything away from this thing that isn't what I'm making, everything I'm taking away, all I'm left with is the core essence of that.
I found the quote after our interview and decided to include it in here. Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away.
With you, one thing I've noticed is like releasing things, letting go of things, not holding on to those baggages and things. So I think that is a clear distinction that people need to realize, is that it's not always adding. Sometimes it's letting go of those shadow selves, letting go of false beliefs, letting go of misperceptions of yourself. And when you do that, you elevate, because it's like if you're in a hot air balloon, you're letting go of all that weight and you're floating up.
Exactly. And sometimes they go, oh my gosh, I've got these limiting beliefs. They are beliefs that allowed you to get and be where you are now. And I do see a lot of, I don't think intentionally, a lot of guilt, shame, energy around that work. It's like, man, I've got to change my mindset. I've got these limiting beliefs. Well, how about let's look at it from this perspective. I have beliefs that allowed me to be and have supported me to this place. And that's good. Wherever that place is. You may be bringing in $10 million a year. Those beliefs and understanding and that energy has gotten you to there, but you're ready to take it to the next level. None of us are exempt from growing. We all get the opportunity to grow. If I'm making $10 a month or if I'm making $1 million a month, we all have the opportunity to grow. And it takes the same steps. What helps me grow at this level helps another person. No matter, there is no level that doesn't get to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome.
It's an ongoing thing.
It's an ongoing, but not because of guilt, shame, but because we get to. So if my desire is to connect to my intuition at a new level, whatever that is, I go in and I say, thank you for everything that I am right now. Even if it's a limiting, what we're going to call limiting. Why do we call it limiting belief? It's because I'm ready to move beyond. So if I don't shift it, I will not be able to move beyond. But is it so much like, oh, how bad? There's no benefit of looking at it that way. I have the belief that I have the energy in me that I have so that I can be where I am right now. Now I want to grow. I want to expand this intuition. I want to understand. That is all there to teach me how my intuition works. Because in the process of clearing that, all the pieces, the energy, the thought that goes with that energy is going to show me how my intuition works.
Yeah.
And we all think, oh my gosh, I got upset. And we see it we don't mean to, but we see it in a negative light. No, it's a gift to us.
It means you've outgrown your
Beautiful. You're ready to go. You've outgrown that container. You're a little crab and you're ready to shift shells. The crab didn't say to the shell, oh shoot, I've just really got all these limiting beliefs.
Limiting shell.
I have this limiting shell. No, he says, thank you, little shell. You kept me alive. You kept me where, you got me where I need to be. I've outgrown you. Thank you. Let's move on, next shell.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? We look at what's around us and what's ready to shift. We just look at it with a love. We look at it with gratitude. And when we come into it with that energy, because that perspective is energy, then it's easier to see. And then it's easier to shift.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of a crab with a shell, and the shell's not good or bad. It just is.
Yeah.
And getting a bigger shell is not good or bad. It just
Right.
that's your growth. That's where you're going. So that all makes total sense to me. And I don't think we think of that in the energy world and in the intuitive space. You know, I think we, like you said, have that's bad, that's a limiting belief or this, but it's really just growth.
Yeah, it's just simply growth. And we grow so much with more ease when we come into it with a love and respect for what has been, no matter what that is. No matter what that is. So that's his first step. Second step then is, how do I shift me? And you're paying attention to what works for you. What works for you is going to be different than what works for me. There's going to be some principles. Principle is love. We're transmuting. Principle is that you're being taught how your intuition works as you clear. So going into it with that, you'll be like, oh, okay, be on there. And if people are wondering, well, how do I, because one of the steps is we take a look, we notice what's around us. Step 2 is, what is it? Then what do I want it to be? Step 3, love it. Step 4, transmute it. Transmute it means you're shifting one energy to the other. So if you feel in your heart space and you can feel a heaviness, you may not know what it is exactly, but you can just go, okay, there it is. It's uncomfortable. However, it shows up as a color. It shows up as a knowing. It shows up as a smell. It shows up as you hear it. There's the gifts. How does it show up for you? And then once you find it, let it be wrapped in love. Not your love, maybe your love, but if you're limited to just your love, it's not as potent. So being able to really, whatever your truth is, tap into source energy, God energy, whatever your truth is, and that purest form of love, creator energy, and just wrap that up and for it to transition from one energy to a higher vibration, something that supports you. And you may know what that is, or you may not. But that's the sequence, and it can look different ways for people. It can feel different ways, and there's different strategies. So if you're needing specific strategies for you, that's where you reach out to me at janell@janellrae.com. That's my email. So we can guide you in how to get that specific thing shifted.
This is the end of part 1 of Janell's discussion on intuition. Be sure and watch parts 2 and 3 of this conversation.